As systems become more connected, the need for secure, reliable, and efficient verification methods has never been greater. This keynote is the introduction to UR code and will explore how new digital solutions are simplifying these processes while maintaining accuracy and trust. To walk us through this important topic, please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker and silver sponsor, Owen McShane, the Vice President of Government Relations at FaceTec. He has also served as an adjunct professor at the University of Albany, where he has taught classes on biometrics, cybersecurity, and counterterrorism since 2015. Please give him a big round of applause. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. If they could just pull up the presentation. So my name is Owen McShane, and as mentioned, I work as the Vice President of Government Relations for a company called FaceTec. And what FaceTec does is provides liveness. And we have some new technology we want to highlight related to ID cards and what can be done to enhance a school ID card. So a little bit about my background. As mentioned, I teach classes at the University of Albany on biometrics, cybersecurity, and counterterrorism. I'm an alumni of UAlbany. I have 2 masters from there, and went to college in Pennsylvania for my undergraduate. So my main career, I worked for New York State DMV. I worked as an investigator, worked my way up to deputy commissioner, retired in 2024, and I was responsible for the New York State's facial recognition database. So it was mandated and managed by DMV, and we maintained images for everyone who had a driver's license in New York. One of the main reasons we did it was for traffic safety issues. Excuse me, the monitor's not lighting up here. So during the course of the time that I ran the program from 2010 to 2024, we caught 37,000 people with 2 or more licenses. And one of the things that highlighted is the traffic safety impacts. And it also protected a lot of people who would have become victims of identity theft without that system in place. So when I started working with facial recognition, I was asked by the FBI to join their scientific work group working with biometrics. And basically we work with approximately 60 countries, all the federal agencies, trying to build safety guards to make sure that the technology was not used or abused and was controlled how it was used. One of the things I did when I was running the program is I partnered with a subsidiary of our university to look at the traffic safety impacts of using facial recognition. And as a result of that, it was pretty consistent. 50% of the people that we caught with facial recognition had 2 or more licenses. 30% of them had no DMV issues, were engaged in some type of benefit fraud, and 20% literally must have sped out of the DMV parking lot because regardless of how many driver's licenses they had, they were all suspended or revoked. So I work closely with the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators as well, FISWIG, as I mentioned, from the FBI, and DSA. DSA and FISWIG are both free for academics to join and any student. So I encourage my students to get involved. It helps them out as a resume builder as well. With AMVA, shortly after 9/11, I was contacted by AMVA, and I was asked to create a training program for all 50 US states, all the Canadian provinces, on how to identify fake IDs. I led a team. We created a program that's still used today. And as DMV started using more and more facial recognition, they asked me to do the same thing, have safeguards, establish protocols for how to use it. So a little bit about our company. FaceTec has been around since 2013, and we specialize in liveness. So liveness is remote validation of a person's identity. So we average 3.8 billion transactions a year, which works out to about 120 per second. So a lot of the financial institutions use our technology. We're being used right now by 5 of the state's mobile driver's licenses. We're used by Homeland Security for global entry. If you're traveling in and out of the United States, you use the FaceTec program, and for all the visa applications to make sure that people get in and out of the country quickly. We are also based around the world. We have 115 distributors around the world. We've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of countries who are using our technologies for passports, ID cards. In the United States, in the next year, you're going to see it on some of the driver's licenses as well. So one of the reasons we're using the technology, and the technology I'm talking about today, is UR codes. And the basis for using that is because of this issue, the issue of fake IDs. I'm not going to ask how many people had fake IDs when they were in college, but I might have had one myself. But it's changed a lot since then. When I was in college, you stood in front of a poster, and you might have had someone take a photo of you, and it looked like a driver's license from the state I was in. And people joke about it. It's a rite of passage, but it also has a lot of impacts. My last few years with DMV, I ran the Highway Safety Office for New York State, and I got notified of every single fatal crash involving a teen. So the volumes were high, and a lot of it were underage individuals getting a hold of alcohol, getting behind the wheel, and bad things happen. So when we look at fake IDs, everyone's like, oh, it's just a kid issue. The shooter for the CEO in Manhattan had a fake license that he ordered online. He presented that to travel to New York City. He used that to check in, and he presented that to the police officers when he was apprehended in Pennsylvania. It was a high-quality counterfeit that contained all the security features of a genuine New Jersey driver's license. Running DMV's investigation unit, we were looking at vehicles being purchased, houses being stolen via identity theft with fake driver's licenses. So it's not just a kid's issue with going into a bar. Right now, identity theft is the #1 consumer crime in the United States, and it's increasing dramatically. If you click on this PowerPoint will be available afterwards. The Federal Trade Commission has a lot of information on it, breaks it down by state, breaks it down by city, county, and the volumes across the country continue to increase. If you go home, I wouldn't recommend doing it on your cell phone right now, but if you're home and you Google fake IDs, you'll see all kinds of different websites pop up. And I have students, and I'm like, how many people have gone this? And a lot of them come back to me afterwards. So when we were running this, when I was running the investigation program in New York, we recovered about 3,000 fake licenses per year at underage events. And one of the things we did is we worked out an agreement with all the DAs that no one would get charged with a misdemeanor or felony for first-time offenses. And we would use it as an education tool. We would give them a fine, and they would have their driver's license privilege suspended for 90 days. No arrest, no misdemeanor, nothing that would follow them beyond that. And we had very few return customers. But when you're starting to look at like a typical old-style fake ID, the quality was not that great. But unfortunately, it's changed. If you go online right now and look at the websites, most of the websites are based in Eastern European countries. So you will go to place your order, and half the times I know this because we've placed orders multiple times just to see how fast it would work, what was available. And within about half the time, they would come back and say, we want proof that you're not a cop. Could you please send us your real driver's licenses? So high school students and teen and college students immediately snap a picture and upload it. So about half the people we caught in New York with fake IDs and similar stats in Maryland come back within a year as victims of identity theft. So most of the licenses that we see being manufactured are coming up out of the Pacific Rim countries. You'll see a care package being sent to a college of teapots, sneakers, Reeboks, you name it, full of fake licenses. And the prices are pretty reasonable, about $200. They come in sets of 2. So if one gets taken, you can go and try it again. Right now, US Customs and Border Protection are intercepting about 20,000 fake licenses a month coming into the United States. And only 60% are for teens in the age groups of 18 to 22. A lot more of them are older, and they're being used for car purchases, house purchases, credit card blowouts, and it's really causing some issues, and it's hitting you in the pocketbook. So when we look at some of these counterfeits, Recently, Arlington Police Department in Virginia contacted us, and they asked us to look at the 5,000 documents they had recovered in the past 6 months. And there were fake licenses from 47 of the US jurisdictions. They didn't have a lot from Hawaii and Alaska and Montana for whatever reason. They had none, but every other state had tons of them, and most of the Canadian provinces as well. And trying to decipher what was real was not was somewhat challenging. 1 second. So in these packages, it's not just driver's licenses. We're seeing immigration documents, we're seeing passports, we're seeing passport insert pages, we're seeing visa applications. And one of the reasons we're here today is we're also seeing a lot of college IDs. We're seeing a lot of college IDs to match up the information that they have. We're seeing blank templates being shipped over that could just be printed that have a lot of the security features that different colleges, different DMVs, different municipalities are using across the country. So as we see this, it's becoming more of an issue and it's more of a challenge. So as I mentioned, our company, we work across the world. So last year around this time, I was over in Africa, in Ethiopia, and I had a meeting with some of the countries over there. So 20% of the passports that are presented to fly in or out of Africa in Ethiopia and the surrounding countries have the chips disabled. Literally, they will put them in a microwave, they will hit them with a hammer, and if you're an individual traveling, and what this allows is use somebody else's passport. So they're seeing a significant increase in imposter fraud. And just to blend in a little bit, so if you're traveling with someone else's passport, you'll break every other passport in your group. So instead of one passport not working, all of a sudden it's 6. So one of the things we were talking about is ways that we could, address this, tighten this up a little bit. Oops. Sorry. So we see the chips getting broken. We see the chips getting broken and manipulated. How many people have schools that have an RFID chip into it? So that allows them to swipe into a dorm, swipe into pay for their meals, pay for their breakfast. If you go to Staples, they sell those chips. They sell the cards for it, and you could reprogram it. So there could be 2 Owen McShanes, one that's not my cousin. So, just to match it up, it's very easy, and we're starting to see that being manipulated a lot more. So one of the things we came up with was, just looking at the ease. If you stop by our booth today, we have a printer on the left. It costs under $1,000. It'll reproduce an ID card. The printer on the right is a little bit more expensive. It's $2,300, but you can get them on eBay for about $500. They will allow you to copy an RFID chip and reprogram an alternate card for that. So one of the things we came up with was what we call a UR code. You are that individual. You are that identity. And what it does, it takes a standard QR code and it adds the individual's biometrics to it. So it allows you to create what you see on the right, 2 centimeter by 2 centimeter, what looks like a QR code that biometrically links that individual to a physical card. So if you scan a picture you scan the UR code, it will prompt you to take a selfie of that person or a photo of that person. The UR codes are digitally signed. The odds of spoofing that is over 1 in 300 million. Plus, it has biometrics on top of it. When I start talking about biometrics in schools, the big thing I hear is that it's Big Brother, it's creating a searchable database, students don't like it, faculty don't like it. Everything that is needed to do that verification is in that UR code. We don't get any of the personal data. Everything, we provide an encoder to any government agency, any school. It's completely free for them to use it for schools, government agencies, and nonprofits. And they put it behind their firewall so they can create ID cards that will biometrically link to that individual. So right now we've added about 400 police agencies in the past year. We have 5 DMVs piloting it. We're using it for 5 mobile driver's licenses for other DMVs. And within about 3 months, we'll be close to 5,000 police, fire, and EMT units across the country, adding that to their ID cards. Some of the municipalities, when we talk to it, are advertising the fact that they're adding it. So if a person shows up at their door in plain clothes in Augusta, Maine, they know the town is broadcast that everyone in Augusta, Maine, every one of their municipal employees has an ID card that can be presented to verify it's them. So basically, you enter the information that you want, add a photo, and it creates the UR code. It could be printed on a piece of paper, it could be printed on a driver's license. As I mentioned, it could also be used on a mobile DL. This is the specs on it. And one of the things we provide is it comes with a perpetual license. So whoever downloads our software, it's good for their perpetual license is as long as they want to use it. And we provide free verification tools via the Google app or the Apple app that'll give you a verification and validate it within about 3 to 4 seconds. So the technology's out there. We're starting to see it getting used more and more. We have one community college in Louisiana testing it. We have 5 other universities that are in the process of piloting it for their ID cards. And so far, the feedback has been pretty positive on it. If you scan it, you get almost an instantaneous response. It's either red, not a match, or green, it is a match. So as I mentioned, with the digital signature, the odds of someone beating that is about 1 in 300 million, plus the biometrics on top of it. But one of the things our CEO is always looking for new ways to learn about the technology. So he actually offers a spoof bounty for $600,000 if anyone could beat the technology. So when I teach a cybersecurity class and I mention this, and I have a lot of very excited students, and we have about 100,000 people a year attempt to beat it. No one's been successful. Usually a week after I give it to the students, I bring in pizza as compensation, but it works out pretty good with that. So this is the app that you can download for free. So one of the things we're seeing on it from different colleges as we go and talk to them is they're trying to identify some issues. They're seeing imposters, people getting into dorms, people getting into areas where they're not supposed to, and this allows them to verify that. It also allows them to verify for meals and other things like that. So whatever the college use cases are, it's pretty quick. Unfortunately, we're continuing to see a lot of imposters. I retired from DMV as an investigator 2 years ago, but Howard County, Maryland invited me to come down to the Merriweather facility in Baltimore for a Luke Bryant concert last year. So we encountered 250 fake licenses in the first 2 hours, and we encountered 150 licenses being used by somebody else. They were genuine licenses being used by a different individual. So Maryland is going to be one of our first states, the DMVs, that are actually going to be piloting the technology on their driver's licenses. So it's just interesting seeing how it moves out. So here's some of the use cases that we highlighted with it. So far, the more we push it out, the more we test it, the feedback has been very, very positive with it. We've been focusing on government use, nonprofit use. So one of our first partners was the Amber Alert program. So starting later this year, when they start issuing an Amber Alert, it will have a UR code on it. So they have a suspect child, they can scan and validate really quickly. Unfortunately, with the Amber Alert groups, they're seeing appearances change as soon as someone takes a child. Hair colors get changed, head shave, whatever the scenario might be. And this allows a quick means of verification that's very, very quick and efficient. The other area that we're working on is with Project Lifesaver, who deals with nonverbal kids and Alzheimer's patients. So one of the challenges they have is they provide a GPS bracelet, but it's limited on what type of information they can add. So we've been working with them. They've been adding a UR code right onto the bracelets, and they're also taking stickers and adding it onto shoes, clothing, and other apparel so that if someone's found, they could quickly identify them and get them back where they belong. They're located in Norfolk, Virginia. I was down there at their facility about 4 weeks ago, and they had someone who wandered from Tennessee who wound up on the beach down in Virginia. It was a 19-year-old nonverbal child. They don't know how he got from here to there, but he had been missing for 5 days. The GPS alarm started going off. They intercepted, talked to him, but he could not communicate where he's from. And it took a while. He had the band, so they knew he was part of Project Lifesaver, but trying to find where he came from was somewhat challenging. So hopefully we'll see some improvements on that in the next year. From the DMV world, we're starting to see it. You'll see it added to driver's licenses, titles, and registrations. The U.S. Virgin Islands became the first U.S. jurisdiction to add it to their titles. There was a little internal fighting within the company who would go down and make sure that was running smoothly. I did not win, but everyone else seemed to have fun with it. As I mentioned, we're working with a lot of the passport manufacturers, especially internationally, to add that as well. So we're also working with some of the healthcare entities, especially in Canada, where they issue a driver's license and a health card with the same photo produced by the same company. They're going to start integrating that this year as well. As I mentioned, the biggest thing we're having right now is police IDs, municipal IDs, fire, EMTs. So as a police officer, when you retire after 10 years of service, you're issued an ID card that allows you to carry a firearm, a handgun, anywhere in the continental United States. What do you think the security standards are for that card? There are none. They just have to have a photo ID issued by their home agency. So we see pieces of paper with the photo, home lamination. So as we start talking about this technology, that seems to be one of the immediate areas where we're seeing more and more law enforcement agencies want to jump on board with that. So if you scan this on the phone with just any camera, any smartphone, it will prompt you to take a selfie of me and verify that I am Owen McShane. So you'll have to get a little close to do that. So I'll be around afterwards or over at our booth. And over at our booth right around the corner, if you stop by, we can actually make you your own UR code, print it on a card, and just try it out yourself. And if you're really good at hacking and you can hack it, let me know. We had that $600,000 cash prize. So we're right around the corner, and Faith and myself will be here all week. So please stop by. Any questions for me? Yes.
So I gather there's a tremendous amount of fraud. How much of this is, much more you're implementing this will be able to reduce fraud, Medicare, Medicaid, community colleges, and other places?
So from the DMV world, we see a lot of people who get pulled over and they'll provide someone else's name or they'll use someone else's driver's license. With 20-somethings, if they know their roommate's information, they'll provide that. This is a means for them to validate that it is actually you who has that information. And one of the other challenges, how many people have traveled and lost their license? Well, when I worked at DMV about 5 times a week, we had someone who went to Florida, Texas, or California and lost their license and wasn't able to get back. So it was a nightmare with TSA, sending letters, sending photos. What we can do with this now is if they contact us, the DMVs have the ability to generate a UR code based on the photo they have on file, email it to that person, TSA will accept it, validate it. The odds of someone spoofing that is still 1 in 300 million as an email, plus the biometrics, so they're allowing people to go that route. We also see a lot of issues with fraud, from universities, from DMVs, other government agencies, where they call and say, hi, I'm George Bush, I need to renew my driver's license. As long as they have the information, a lot of DMVs were allowing that to happen. Unfortunately, someone renewed George Soros' driver's license in one of the states in the Northeast last year and used it to buy 5 cars. So this allows the DMV to send that person a text or an email to do a remote validation. So it's just tools to help government agencies work, help reduce fraud that way. Like I mentioned, we give this out to government agencies completely free. We do work with a lot of financial institutions, And one of our biggest customers is actually Match.com. So Match.com owns every single dating site online in the US, half of South America, half of Europe. And one of the issues they had was making sure people only had one account and make sure that some of their power users who upload new photos every week, it remains the same person using that photos. So they just released a couple interesting releases about how much fraud was reduced by that, from over 1 million complaints a year to under 1,000 complaints a year. So it helped them. Hopefully we'll see it on the DMV side and some of the other benefit fraud. Thank you, though.
Is there any, how are your practices different than some of the, what do you do to avoid the widespread fears of, on the other, fraud is one side. On the other hand, we have widespread fears of like a surveillance state. How do you address those fears?
So one of the things that's unique about, oh, sorry, this one's working. I thought it was the other mic. So what we see is a lot of the traditional facial recognition databases creates a repository of images, and people can go and search this. All our technology is embedded in that UR code. All the facial vectors are there. If you take that and tear it apart, you're not going to get my photo out of it. You're going to get your high school nightmare algebra equation, and it's a mess of numbers that match my face. So there's no searchable database. I worked with facial for 15 years. As DMV started adding this and provided unfeathered access to agencies, there was a lot of errors and improper arrests being made. When we ran our first pilot in New York State, it was 1.2 million images. We identified 6,700 twins or triplets. So right in time for the holiday card season, we were all good to go. But that was something that we had to sort out. One of the other interesting challenges we found from that is, how many cases of twins do you think we found in New York that do not know they had a twin? 18. They were put up for adoptions. There's a special category within Social Security as a blind adoption, and they were sent to different areas of the state. So we weren't going to send the reconnection notices to them, but it amazed us, what's out there and what you want to make sure you're not taking action inappropriately. Just one last thing with that is, our company doesn't get any of the PII. We don't want any of the PII. We give every agency who wants it their own encoder. They put it behind their firewall. We don't want any of the information coming to us. There's no checks with us, so that kind of helps a little bit as well. Any other questions? Yes? All set? All right, thank you for your time today.